Hi. Hi, I want to talk about how I became a freelance concept artist because I think it's a question that I get asked quite often, and I feel like I could share my story to those of you that are wanting to make art your career as well. Maybe hearing where another person started from might help you out as well. So yeah, I thought I would share today a bit about my artistic journey. If you don't know me, my name's Jessica. I'm been a freelance concept artist for, it's going to be more than 8 years now. I'm trying to make sure I keep count. I've been doing this for quite a while now. It's become my life. I do work in the video game industry. I do concept art. I do world development art. I do anything to do basically with environments, anything that you need part of the environment or world drawn or designed or painted. That's my thing. I've worked on video games, I've worked on board games, I've worked on like games on like PC, mobile, like you name it, and I've been really enjoying it. So I thought I'd share where I started from. For me, when I was a child, I grew up watching my mom draw charcoal portraits actually, because when she gave birth to us and she was taking care of us at home, she started taking up a lot of artwork, and she would be doing these like figure drawings in charcoal. And I just remember like watching her create these beautiful pieces of artwork and just seeing the energy and flow and how much fun she was having, and I'm just like, back then I was thinking, I want to do that. The thing is, when you grow up throughout your life, I suppose, you start to realize that like, oh, art as a career, it can be pretty hard. Especially when you're younger, when you grow up in school, they always tell you, like, they give you this handbook, and they say, these are the jobs that exist, pick one, and then go to the university or college that gives you the degree to get that job. And artist wasn't really in that book. When I was in high school, I loved art and music. That was my jam. It's the thing that made me happy, and my family was really supportive of that. So near the end of high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to become as like an end goal. All I knew was that I loved drawing and I loved using a computer because I had started digital drawing when I was about 14. I'd gotten my uncle on my mum's side, he gave me a graphics tablet. It was one of the very early Wacom tablets. It's like, I'll put a photo here. It was ancient. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen, and I'm like, I can draw with this. This is amazing. I'd always been drawing in sketchbooks and stuff. I loved anime, I loved manga drawings. I was just like, every single day I was doing all these like crazy characters and stuff, and like trying to like bring to life my imagination, all these stories and things that I had in mind, and a lot of Naruto fan art too. So when I got this graphics tablet, I got Photoshop. It was Photoshop 7.0. This was before CS was even a thing. And it was very limited back then, but also back then it was full of opportunities. By the time I was in grade 9, so I was 14, I was already like painting in Photoshop. And when we were picking our final subjects in high school for final year, I picked art, and in art you can choose to do certain streams, like what stream you want to focus your artwork on. You could either choose fashion and textiles, painting, like acrylic painting, water painting, like traditional painting basically. I think there was like sculpture. Yeah, there was sculpture. Sculpture, painting, and fashion and textiles basically. But there was also one more that was it was not popular, and that was graphic design. I did that one, naturally, because I was already using Photoshop, and I had taught myself everything, so I didn't learn any of the stuff that I knew back then from any teacher. I did that for school, graduated, and naturally I ended up studying graphic design. That was literally the only career that would pop up when you would search like art, computers, equals graphic design. So I was like, okay, I will go to the best place possible to try learn graphic design and see what this is. I went to TAFE in Perth, which was great. It was fantastic. The thing is with graphic design too, you don't necessarily need a university degree either. You just need to be able to design well, you need a portfolio. So saying it's very similar to a lot of the creative fields. I mean, the whole degree thing, we can talk about that another time. There are benefits, of course, and I don't want to discourage anyone, but we'll talk about that later. So I went to this college to study graphic design, and I want to tell you now about how I discovered concept art, because it was actually a very special moment, and I don't think I'll ever forget how I found out about it. Because it was like something that I always knew existed, but I didn't really know that it was like a thing. Like, once you realize it exists, you're like, of course. Of course this is a job. Like, what? So the thing was, in my graphic design diploma, again, we had classes, and there was also an illustration class. So in the illustration class, you can choose to do, like, you can pick the stream. So I was doing corporate design, which is basic branding stuff for graphic design, because that's like necessary for everything. And then I chose illustration because I love drawing. I want to get good at, and I wanted to get better at drawing. The thing was at, like, and I think this is a very common thing at design schools, is they do not teach you how to draw. They will give you the assignment, and they would say, like, your assignment is to design the illustrations for this set of, like, wine labels or something. So they need, like, a beautiful floral illustration. If you ask them, like, okay, that's the project, how do you draw a flower? What is the actual steps? And the thing is, these teachers don't know how to teach that. And that is a very common, I don't think it's just Australia, it's a lot of schools in the world, unless you go to a specialized art school that can be very expensive, and also it's not as accessible to people. A lot of them are in the US. I was in the most isolated city in Australia, of course. So yeah, so they don't teach you how to draw. They tell you, we want to get these illustrations of flowers and put them on wine labels, but they don't actually tell you, like, how to draw good. My illustration lecturer, though, was the coolest guy. His name was Neil Hollis, legendary dude. I think he's retired now. He is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today. If it wasn't for him, I would never have found out about concept art. I would never have had the confidence to do art as a career, and I would also never have had the diligence and the motivation to get my art as good as it can be as well, because Neil's illustrations were incredible, and like the way he would draw, and it was just like, the first time I had met him and I saw him drawing, and when he was giving a student critique, I was like, who is this guy? Like, where has he been my entire life? So it was incredible. So we got along really well. He's like, he was my favorite lecturer, and I told him a lot as well. He's a really great inspiration for me. When we were doing our final year of graphic design, basically, in our illustration class, on the first day of semester, we were starting a new project, and the project is to basically just create your own illustration project. So on that day, he brought in a bunch of art books into the class, and one of those art books was Sparth's book. And if you don't know Sparth, he is a concept artist that back then he was really known for doing concept art for Halo. He was the sci-fi guy. So I see this like art book that has spaceships on it, and I'm going, what the hell is that? And when I flip through the pages and looking at Sparth's work, I realized, like, oh my gosh, this is an actual career. Like, this guy is painting spaceships digitally, digital art designs, and he is working at Microsoft for this. And I was like, dude, what is this? Neil, what is this? He's like, do you not know about concept art? Like, everything that is made, like, in the entertainment industry, it all starts from, like, they need a designer. And I'm like, why am I studying graphic design? This is way cooler. And that was kind of the moment where I went down a rabbit hole, basically. I was just like, I started searching, I started researching, like, all about concept art, basically, and what the industry was, and what was happening and stuff, and video games, because the thing was I loved video games too. I grew up watching my brother play so many PS2, PS3 games as well. I didn't necessarily, like, I wasn't a gamer, but I was mesmerized by watching. Like, I was appreciating more how pretty things were, and the games that I would play would be the story-based ones, but I also like the time that people would be playing games, I would actually be drawing while watching them instead. So I loved video games, and I loved the stories that they told, the visuals that they had, and realizing that there was a career in this was mind-blowing. And not just like, you know, any career, a career that can be very lucrative, a career that can sustain you very comfortably. Like, because these guys, like, these artists are working at very high level studios and stuff, and working on massive projects. It's incredible, and it's because of these artists that a lot of the productions and the things that we watch and entertain with ourselves today, the things that we, you know, games that we play, a lot of the reason why they look good is because of these artists, and I just think that's so incredible. Even to this day, I think that's just so incredible. So from there, like, I continued studying graphic design and stuff, but basically in every moment of my spare time, I was like drawing, just scribbling concept art stuff. But the thing was, like, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was trying to kind of copy what these other concept artists were doing, but I didn't really know what I was doing. So I would be doing these like fancy speed painting landscapes and stuff, and had no idea what art fundamentals were at all. Didn't even know they were like a thing. I kept drawing, having fun, exploring my ideas and stuff, and getting pumped, and then lo and behold, this workshop pops up. So in Sydney, and in Australia of all places as well. You have to understand, it's very rare that an event like this would pop up in Australia, and this was the second time as well that it happened. It was very, very, very rare. It was a concept art workshop, and it was run by, and they still exist today, and they're a really amazing school, CDW Studios. This was when they hadn't even launched their school yet. They were just doing workshops, and they were in the process of creating their school, but they were running these workshops, which were so incredible. Simon, who is the guy that runs the school, he was bringing people from the US, people from the industry that were actually working in the industry, to Australia to talk about their experience and about art, and I was like, oh my god. And the artists that went were a bunch of really amazing artists, and it was also, that workshop kind of changed my life as well. It was where I discovered, and this might sound maybe like negative to some people, but for me it's not. It's where I discovered that my art was crap. And I say this because when you discover that your work can be improved, then suddenly you know what to do to improve it, if that makes sense. Like, when someone tells you that there is room for improvement, here is how you do it, that's it. Let me explain. So when I went to this workshop, they had portfolio critiques. So I had organized my portfolio. The artwork was, if I say now, it wasn't good, but back then I thought it was great. I was like, I'm ready. These guys have no idea what they're in for, blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, holy crap, my ego, like, I had no idea what I was, like, up against. All these artists there, I was probably the worst one there. All these artists there were incredible. Some of them were already, like, working in the industry too, like, amazingly. In Australia, they would be working freelance online with big AAA companies and stuff like that. So my confidence kind of was like, okay, I'm not really that good. When I went for a portfolio critique, like, I have so much gratitude to this artist, and he is also another one where I don't think I would be where I am today. I showed my portfolio to Kakai Kotaki. Kakai Kotaki is an incredible freelance artist and illustrator. He's worked on Guild Wars in the past. That was mainly how his career took off, and now he's just freelancing. Incredible artist. He gave me the best portfolio critique, and I'm still so grateful for him to this day. He told me my work was no good. Like, at the time it was interesting because I just felt so embarrassed because I had come up to him with such confidence, and he was flipping through my work and going, nope, nope, and just shaking his head, and I'm going, oh my god. And then afterwards he said, he goes, look, you need to go back to art fundamentals. You need to learn perspective. You need to learn how to draw. Like, you need to go back to the very, very basics. And you have to understand at this time, I thought I was a very like intermediate artist. Like I thought I knew what I was doing. Like I'm using Photoshop, I'm using colors and stuff. I'm making like environments, but fundamentals, when you have like a industry veteran artist tell you that you need to do fundamentals, it was the most, like, I'm so grateful to this day for that. And if it wasn't for that critique, I wouldn't be where I am today with my art. Yeah, after that I was like, thank you so much. Like, no one's ever told me that. I really needed to hear that. Thank you. Of course, I got other portfolio critiques from the other artists there that were teaching, and one of the other artists was John Park. John Park is also an amazing concept artist as well, and he's also a very fantastic teacher. He's a teacher that makes you feel like you can do, like as an artist, he gives you the inspiration and energy to think that you can achieve anything, like anything is possible. Like even if you start out learning something and you're not very good at it, he is so encouraging and just a really good teacher. So he had a look at my portfolio and he was a bit more gentler than Kakai, which is okay. But he was like, yeah, this is cool stuff. Maybe you should look back at your art fundamentals a bit. It might strengthen you up a bit. And I'm like, okay, I get the message. But he also said, and this was one key thing that was quite amazing, he also said, dude, you should come to America. You should come to the US and learn with us. You should study at the school that I teach at, Concept Design Academy. And that set me on a trajectory of completely changing what I was studying and stuff, and I don't regret it at all. That was the thing, that workshop, both Kakai, both John Park, they are the reason why I am here doing art as a career today, and I'm so grateful for them. What did I do then? I went back to Perth after an amazing trip in Sydney, and with only 6 months left in my advanced diploma, I had already gotten my diploma. I was in my 3rd year, so basically going for the advanced diploma. After the advanced diploma, you can choose to go to university afterwards and get the bachelor. I had 6 months left, and I decided to drop out. And everybody that I told that was my like classmate in class, they're like, what is wrong with you? Why would you drop out when you only got fucking 6 months left? Maybe I could have stayed like another 6 months. Maybe I could have hung around, but the reason why I just couldn't. I had to leave. After that workshop, knowing all, like, you have to understand, I was immersed in an environment for like a whole week with artists that were just like drawing away every single second. They were just drawing, and I had never like met other artists like that in my entire life up to that point. I was always the, like, and maybe some of you can relate to this, I was always that person where I was the only artist in the room. Like everybody else was doing something else, or they were like, you know, but I was the only one that was drawing, like constantly drawing. Even in art class, I was the only one that was drawing. When you're immersed in an environment where there's suddenly people that have that same creative like passion and energy as you, it's just like, I just couldn't, I was like, every moment that I'm spending to continue finishing this advanced diploma degree is one step holding me back from wanting to get better at concept art. And I also knew what I needed to do to get better at concept art, and that was learn my fundamentals, get them up to scratch. Otherwise I wasn't going to be able to progress with my art. So I dropped out. I dropped out, and it was great. What happened was I ended up self-studying for about, I would say, a year from home. I was very lucky at the time. My mum supported me during that time. I was also working 2 jobs. So I was working at a supermarket, and I was also working as, funnily enough, a graphic designer at a software company. So I'd already gotten a job as a graphic designer, so like, you know, the whole advanced diploma thing was kind of irrelevant for me in this case because I had already gotten a job. It wasn't a well-paying job, I have to say, but it was better than nothing. And I had, you know, so I was working these 2 jobs working my ass off, saving up money basically to fly and stay in America, to study there. So every single minute I was either working, if I wasn't working, I was studying. So I went back to basics. I did a perspective course, like 2 courses from Peter Hahn about drawing fundamentals as well. I learned how to actually draw, and then I started doing digital painting courses online too. I learned how to paint environments. By the time that it was like a year later and I had applied for the full term at Concept Design Academy in LA, so I was going to fly over there in October. By the time that had come around, I had kind of secured like a really good chunk of the fundamental stuff. Like I had learnt perspective. I had a good grip of it as well. Like I don't want to say like they were perfect, because continuously over time as I kept drawing, that's when my, skill level really increased and stuff. But that 1 year that I dedicated only to art fundamentals, to particularly, I think the most important one was perspective. If I hadn't learned perspective, my art would not be the way it is today. I think it's one of the most crucial drawing and art skills, and it's so powerful. It can elevate your work to looking quite amateurish to professional very quickly. If we go over art fundamentals, what are they? It's like color, shape, anatomy, and then the other one's perspective. And perspective is the one that a lot of people just like hate. It's the bane of their existence. I love it. I love it so much, and not because I'm like a math nerd or anything. I can't do math for shit. Like, it's just fun for me. I don't want to say that I've got a knack for it, but I might like the fact that it can help elevate your environments that you're designing is just like, it's so fun. So after I did drawing, like I self-studied fundamentals for a year. I studied at Concept Design Academy and for 3 months, and that was the most fun 3 months I think I've ever had with art, and still to this day it was incredible. The friends that I made, the people that I learnt from there, the artists that I met, that I became friends with, the artists that I learnt from as well, the whole experience was just so invaluable. After Concept Design Academy, it was kind of like in the class, because I took a class with John Park, of course, because like that was the whole reason as well why I went to LA, was to learn with him too. So I spent, 8 weeks there and learnt from him, as well as I took 3 other classes. And by the end of the term, and I kind of asked him, I was like, look, with the way that my work is at now, do you think I can work? Like, get a job? And he said, yeah, man. And it's encouraging to hear that from an industry artist as well. It's possible that he was being too kind. I don't think so though. He was very honest. He's very upfront with, like if your work needed a bit more work, he wouldn't say like, this sucks. He'd just say like, maybe you're not ready in that yet. Give it a bit more time, blah, blah, blah. But for me, when he saw my work, he's like, yeah, man, give it a shot. I did consider staying in LA to study for longer, and also after experiencing LA, like a part of me also really thought that I really wanted to live there, because like the creative community is absolutely wonderful there, the people there and stuff. After I returned back to Australia, I realized I really still liked Australia. So I put together all my work. When I started my freelance career, I started with basically cold call emailing, and I don't recommend this today. So here are some, I guess, when I was studying freelance, this is what I did. Some things I do recommend doing, some things I don't. This is the thing I don't recommend doing. Maybe at the time it was okay, but if I was starting my career now, I wouldn't be doing this. So I started off by basically, I did a lot of research. I put together a whole list of about 300 game studios, film, illustration, publishing houses as well, anything to basically do with art that needed art, and I tailored my portfolio into like 3 different types. One for like the video game concept arts thing, another for illustration, like when I was applying for like publishing stuff, and another one that had like all this other stuff in it, and yeah, I just remember I had 3, but the 2 main ones that I used was the video game portfolio and the illustration one. And I emailed 300 studios. Like, I kind of was like doing it as like, you know, I was like possessed. Like each day I would get through, like for a whole week I would pump out 50 emails. I wasn't like copying and pasting emails too. Like I had a template that I would send, but I would make sure that I would be addressing the person. I would research each studio, see who I'm contacting, get their name, and directly try to like speak with them, make a reference to like what their company was. And I also tried to not apply to just any like company either. Like I wanted ones that like looked good too and looked fun as well. That's what I did. And I got about out of those like 300 like studios and companies that I cold emailed, I got about 5 responses back. 3 of them were actually potential job offers, and one of them ended up being one that I went through with. So I guess because the reason why I don't recommend that now is because like the time that it took to like contact all these studios and what you get back in return, it doesn't really give back as much, if that makes sense. Like, but I have to say, like, the job that I got through that round, it actually did help me further on in my career. They recommended me eventually, like in my 2nd year of freelance, that first client recommended me to another studio when they were looking for people, and the game that I worked on was really cool, and that was a Japanese studio actually, so really worked out. And yeah, everything counts in the long run, basically. After that though, I changed strategies, and I say strategy because this was a very intentional thing. It's not like a lot of people think to get work, it's like you get it as a fluke, but for me it's intentional. Like when I want work, I do a strategy, and that is creating personal work and sharing it on the internet. And that might sound very simple, but you have to do a lot of things to set yourself up, basically. But I think I'll talk about more of that in another video, because I love talking about business and freelance and stuff, but that can be a whole other topic. Yeah, but that's kind of how I became a freelance concept artist. I'm trying to remember if there was like anything. When you meet the people that are doing the thing that you love and you aspire to, suddenly it makes things a little bit more like believable for what your goal and dream is. Like when you can see someone else is doing it, it's the most encouraging thing. Let alone if you can contact them, if you can learn from them, even better. So yeah, I hope this was interesting for you to learn how I became a freelance concept artist now. Nowadays, basically, like fast forward to today, I've been doing this now for 8 years. I'm working on 2 video games now, doing art, and also creating my own independent work too, because yeah, that brings me joy, and I'm living from this, and it's great. So, this is what my work looked like when I was self-studying, basically, like by myself. This is what my work looked like when I first discovered concept art, and I thought that I knew what concept art was. This is what it looked like. And this is what I showed in my portfolio at the workshop. After I learnt fundamentals, this is what my work transformed into. So I really want to emphasize the difference and the importance of how learning art fundamentals, like, it changed my work, and the transformation that it went through to change my work. This is what my work looks like now after 8 years. You can see more on my website if you want, at artofjess.com. I have a lot of free resources there too for learning artists as well. If you want to get better at art, please go there. There's also like photo packs and stuff and reference photos that you can download to use as well, that I hope will be helpful. I hope this was maybe a little bit inspiring to hear about my story of how I got to where I am today. And the thing is though, I think like even now for me, I'm still continuously learning. Like I haven't like, when I started doing this as a career, it wasn't like, yay, I've reached the top, I can relax now. It's been still continuous like growing, and a lot of hurdles as well, a lot of mistakes I've also made too. Continuous growth, basically. And I think that's really what art is actually also all about. It's kind of interesting when it coincides with you as a career as well, because the way I see it is the minute that you think you know everything is the minute that you stop getting better. It's the minute that you think that you know everything is the minute that you stop learning, which is when you stop improving yourself and you stop getting better. And that's not really fun, is it? Every single day, since starting out, it's just been continuous growth and aiming for that just 1%. Like, how can I get better today? Like, what is the one smallest, simplest step I can take to improve my work today compared to yesterday? And over time, that builds up. It has momentum and it compounds over time and builds up. Before you know it, suddenly a year has passed and your work is at a completely different stage than it was a year ago. So I hope this was interesting for you. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll see if I can answer them maybe in another video or something like that. Thanks very much.